One of my guys told me today that every time he gets out of a couples counseling session, for the next week, he feels retaliated against by his wife. Welcome back to the Secure Husband Podcast. Bruce Abbott, certified professional coach and founder of SecureHusband.com. One of the most confusing things for husbands is they hear, get into couples counseling. Get into couples counseling. Couples therapy will help. And they get in there and they open up and then they feel punished for it. The therapist said, be honest. And you're saying, I was. But now she's colder and angrier and more distant than before. I remember thinking, okay, couples counseling, that's supposed to bring us closer. But it seemed to do just the opposite. Now, here's the thing. You are not alone if you are going through this. This is so common with the guys that I work with. You just spoke your truth and boom, you felt the sting of emotional backlash. And in many cases, this is why they stop coming to counseling. Unfortunately, sometimes, not with every couples counselor, but sometimes that vulnerability gets used against you. Couples counseling is not always a safe place. Sometimes you go in, you're hoping for connection, you walk out more disconnected than ever. The theme that a lot of guys tell me is, I shared something truthful in a session. Maybe it was something that I've been struggling with for a long time. Then I felt like it was thrown back in my face during an argument, and I felt like I should have never opened up about that. So when someone hasn't done their own healing work, vulnerability from their partner can feel threatening. Now, we talk about truth, authenticity, being present, being grounded, and we're talking about your inner self, your vulnerability, cleaning up your side of the street. But your wife may not be able to handle vulnerability. So if your wife is emotionally guarded or avoidant, and she has walls built up to protect herself, she's going to associate closeness with fear, obligation, control. Your vulnerability is not going to draw her in. It might trigger her defenses even more. But here's the thing. You did nothing wrong. It's because she doesn't feel safe with intimacy, at least not yet. Because that's a tough pill to swallow. It explains why something that's meant to bring you closer ends up pushing her further away. And you're left wondering, okay, what am I supposed to do? I don't shut down, I don't attack, I don't collapse, but this isn't working. Well, you go back to leading yourself, because this isn't about you. That's about her. She is dealing with her own wounds. You continue the course. You continue the path of healing. You take a moment to go through the steps of the Secure Husband process. You notice your reaction. You notice the reaction without any shame. If you've just come out of a couple session where you've spoken authentically about your need for emotional connection and physical affection, not in a needy, begging way, but truthful, calm, grounded, present, honest. If you say in the session, I don't feel connected, I feel like a roommate, there is nothing manipulative about that. In fact, many times, a lot of therapists, when they hear those words coming out of your mouth, they will often nod their head like, uh-huh. But notice the silence. Notice your wife going quiet in those moments. Then, later on, maybe she barely speaks to you. Next morning, no goodbye, no kiss, cold, distant. Now you start spiraling. Oh, what did I do? Did I mess up? Should I not have said anything? There's the pattern, the loop, and you're breaking that loop. It's not going to be comfortable, but you're breaking the pattern. You expressed a need in a truthful, honest way. Maybe it didn't land well. Now you feel like the bad guy. But let's just notice. Notice where I'm reacting to her reaction instead of staying grounded in my truth that I spoke. Your truth didn't change just because she got triggered. When you can notice this, that's helpful for reclaiming your peace. Self-soothing your nervous system is going to be so important in those moments because that will allow you to stay grounded, let the physiological part of you not get flooded, and you can tell yourself, okay, I know she's upset, but I didn't do anything wrong. And you choose to stay with yourself in those moments. Don't abandon yourself just because she's uncomfortable. There was a guy the other day I was talking to where he was like, after the session, he was like, oh my gosh, I just want to take it all back. And he was like, maybe I should apologize. And I asked him, like, what did you do wrong? You expressed a need in a loving, truthful, honest, not manipulative way. What are you trying to do? He said, I just want to make the tension in the house go away. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, that's not love, that's appeasement, that's not leadership. See, this step is all about staying with yourself, choosing. Hey, you say to yourself, I was honest, I was kind, I spoke my need clearly. Her reaction is hers. My truth still matters. You make a choice to continue to operate from loving truth and authenticity. You stop making her discomfort mean you did something wrong. You stop bending yourself into silence just to avoid the backlash. You stay anchored. You become the mountain, strong and steady as she blows like the weather. And you keep doing the inner work. You keep meeting that little boy inside who felt punished for having needs. You keep giving him love and compassion. You keep looking after him. You reparent him. You don't let him feel mocked or ignored or punished like he was when he was younger. And you just tell him, you may think that by speaking your needs gets you hurt. That was then, but this is now. You're no longer having to survive like you did when you were young. You are an adult now, and it is okay. It is healthy to speak your needs with truth and love. So you don't abandon that little boy. You stay grounded, breathe, be kind to yourself. Tell yourself, hey, I'm not a burden. I'm not bad for needing love. And you tell that little guy inside of you, I got you. We're going to do this. It's powerful inner work. It's what begins to rewire the shame. It's how you started making progress to begin with. And continue to dialogue with that inner child and with that higher power, that source of unconditional love, understanding your worth, understanding your value, and finding out what that next loving action is. You understand the cycle that's going on, and you don't make it personal. Your wife may withdraw after every session, not because you're wrong, but because she's scared. When you can share your emotional truths, she may feel exposed. When you ask for intimacy, she may feel pressured. But when you stay calm, even though she may feel conflict, because that's her wounds popping up, maybe her norm growing up, so she reacts with her retaliation, coldness, sarcasm, maybe shut down. It's not about you, okay? It's defense against her own pain. Doesn't make it okay, but it helps you not internalize it. And it helps you tell yourself, this is about her not feeling safe in her own nervous system yet. That's emotional maturity. And you continue to take responsibility for your stance, for your radical responsibility, not for her reactions, but for your truth. So maybe after a session and you feel that retaliation, that backlash, instead of groveling or blaming or getting angry, you just ground yourself. And just tell her. Maybe the next day you might say, babe, I know last night that felt pretty heavy, that I shared what I did because I care about us. Not to guilt you, not to push you, but just to be honest. I want to be honest with what my needs are. That's strong leadership. There was no blame in there. There was no collapse. There was no defensiveness, no manipulation. It's kind of like going to the gym. When you first start going to the gym, it's very awkward. It's uncomfortable and you overdo it and you're sore and it's not a pleasant experience. But over time, with consistency, that changes and the energy level changes. If you're going to the gym, it becomes energizing to you after a while. It's not awkward anymore. It's not painful anymore. It's energizing. That's sort of what happens in your marriage. Over time, that energy you bring changes things. It becomes more safe in your marriage because you're clear and you're calm and you're consistent. Because probably you've had behaviors that were inconsistent, that were anything but calm or clear. You probably gave all kind of mixed messages if you sulked or you withdrew or you raged or you left the house or you pulled any of these behaviors, people-pleasing, manipulative, passive-aggressive, whatever. None of that was consistent. None of that was clear and calm and safe. So she's not used to that. But now, when you become the man who leads without trying to control, you get to a point where you're just like, you know what? I'm going to continue in counseling to speak my truth. I'm going to stop trying to use counseling as a way to get her to change, but I'm going to start using it as a mirror for my own growth. I'm going to stop over-explaining everything. I'm going to show up with integrity. I'm going to speak authentic, loving truth, loving to me, loving to her, and her reaction is going to be what her reaction is. I'll let her do what she needs to do. So you stop retaliating when she shuts down, and you stop explaining yourself and defending yourself and apologizing for your truth and trying to fix her reactions. What may happen, like I was talking about with the gym, is she'll start softening. Not because you forced her or made her change, but because you stopped trying to. You stopped trying to control. See, that peace, that's not up for negotiation anymore. That is who you're going to live your life as. So if you're feeling retaliated against after couples counseling, if your honesty has been met with coldness or withdrawal or anger or sarcasm, you're second guessing, why did I even bring that up? Just take a deep breath. You're facing a cycle that takes real strength to break. Just notice your reactions. Stay with your truth. Dialogue with that inner boy inside, that divine guidance. Understand the pattern. Understand the cycle. Lead. Calm. Grounded. Present. Strength. Take responsibility for it. Lead without control. And you'll start to see things change. Don't have to be perfect at it, but you do have to be consistent, and you have to be grounded and be able to weather that storm. I hope this podcast was helpful for you. Hey, give me a review. I'd appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share this episode with someone who you think may need to hear this. And if you need accountability, visit securehusband.com. Sign up for a free 30-minute consultation with me. It's not a sales pitch. It's just a conversation to see how I can help you out. And I'll see you again on the next Secure Husband podcast. Thanks for listening.